This one conversation could end the bloodshed in Ukraine, save the lives of thousands of civilians, and put an end to the war. US President Donald Trump wants to persuade Vladimir Putin to call a ceasefire and enter into peace negotiations with Ukraine. Today, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace. They also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. Trump and Putin agreed that civilians must be protected and that peace talks must begin with the cessation of attacks on energy infrastructure, leading eventually to a full truce. Negotiations are continuing. Donald Trump's staff gave a brief update on the outcome of the conversation. It's happening now. President Trump is in the Oval Office talking to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The conversation is going well. The Washington-Moscow call started at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Today's conversation between Donald Trump and Putin is really part of a longer process, a process that the United States has already mapped out from the very beginning of its attempt to resolve this conflict. It is worth recalling that the United States has been very transparent throughout the process and has been playing its cards very openly. And in fact, what American diplomacy outlined a few weeks ago is slowly and gradually being implemented. Shortly before Donald Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin, US Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived at the White House to discuss the final details and stand by the president during these tough negotiations. Donald Trump puts it clearly. The most important thing is to stop civilian casualties. This war cannot be resolved on the battlefield. It can only be ended diplomatically.
We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance.
Hence, the US has pursued talks, even with the aggressor in this war. The US administration wants to make sure that Putin stops killing innocent people in Ukraine. Putin may be encouraged to accept a ceasefire by the prospect of loosening economic sanctions. America may also threaten him, for example, by rearming Ukraine if the Kremlin does not accept the terms of the agreement. Trump is the last hope for peace in Ukraine. There is a chance for it, and today's conversation may result in peace, although you have to look at the Russians in a different way. They are not people you can trust. Kiev believes that in the relationship of the American president and in bringing peace negotiations with Russia to a conclusion.
With the leadership of President Trump,
we believe that under President Donald Trump's leadership, we will achieve a long and lasting peace. Now is the time for strong diplomacy. Donald Trump takes the mission of bringing peace to Ukraine seriously. After the talks with Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office failed, he gave Kiev a second chance, and the American and Ukrainian delegations reached an agreement in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Now Moscow has been given a similar chance by Trump. He has led to equal, one might say, consultations between the two parties to the conflict, that is, Moscow on the one hand and Kiev on the other. These talks are groundbreaking because for 3 years it has not been possible to advance the process to such an extent. The left-wing European political establishment has done nothing for 3 years to bring peace to Ukraine. They did help the Ukrainians militarily and financially, but did nothing to meaningfully break the stalemate. Now they're counting on Donald Trump to do the hardest part.
A full ceasefire and agree to serious negotiations towards not just a pause, but a lasting peace.
Today's conversation is an important prelude to what Ukraine's war-weary citizens and soldiers have been waiting for. The chances of a ceasefire, a truce, or even lasting peace in Ukraine are greater than ever before, if both sides sit down at the negotiating table.